Home sweet home. Hey guys, how are we doing? And welcome back to what's another video. You join me with Plymouth Sound in the distance, Robertson Bay, the Devon coastline over there. We're currently at Mount Edgecombe on the Cornish coastline at a place called Reading Point, which is just here, across the border into Cromhill to the motherland, in my motherland now in Cornwall. And I've just been on a walk across Mount Edgecombe to go on a lovely coast path walk, and I thought I would while I make this video. But yeah, it's lovely here. I wish I wouldn't leave because it's absolutely freaking gorgeous. I'd actually build a house here if I could. This is what I call the night before the storm. The international break, final one, is this weekend as I speak here recording today on Friday the 22nd of March. Next Friday, we are in Norfolk, away at Norwich, which will start what is the business end of the season. Who makes the playoffs, who makes the Premier League next season, and who drops down to League One. I saw Benjamin Bloom's video, who's given me inspiration for this. Here it is then, guys. We see Kingston and Corsand in the distance, Rainhead, the Cornish hideaway, and during this hideaway, it's business time. Here is my Championship 1 to 24 final charge of the season predictions. Here we go. With the relegation scrap we're starting with, which I call 24th all the way up to 16th. Right, we're going to start off with the easiest pick of them all. I think we can find out who the easiest is to pick already in this battle. Rotherham, they are now about 18 points adrift of Sheffield Wednesday. The theory is, and the fact is, if they lose to Preston next weekend at Deepdale, they are officially, well, they're pretty much relegated, but they're not mathematically relegated. If they don't even beat Millwall in their game after at home, even if they draw against Millwall, that's it. They're officially relegated mathematically and confirmed. No matter what Sheffield Wednesday, Huddersfield, etc., do. It's the easiest pick on the list because 18 points adrift, it just looks inevitable at this point. The Millers back in League One again. The next club I'm going to talk about is Millwall. Millwall, who currently sits 16th at the moment. Now, I'm convinced enough that the arrival of Neil Harris is going to do them okay. Obviously, they started off the season with Gary Rowett, who nearly took them to the playoffs last season. But it's gone horribly wrong for Rowett at the Lions, which resulted in Gary Rowett getting the sack. Joe Edwards came in, and it's fair to say that it got worse and worse. The Den turned their eyes to the Abbey, a club that is close to his heart, and Millwall swooped in to sign Neil Harris from Cambridge to have any rescuing for staying up. It's going very well for them so far under Neil Harris, and I think he will do enough to keep them up. Millwall are one of the weaker sides at home this season, but they're also they're one of the best sides in my opinion down in this part of the table away from home. Neil Harris is going to do enough for his love of the club and keep the men from the Den in the second tier of English football for another season. Millwall, I think, will finish in 17th. Huddersfield have had a really turbulent season. It didn't work at the start of the season under Neil Warnock. Turned their attention to the magic of Hillsborough by appointing Darren Moore. Ultimately, it has not gone well for the Terriers at all. It has resulted in Darren Moore being sacked. Now, Huddersfield on under German coach Andre Brayton-Reiter, but I'm not hugely convinced or sure if the results are following for the West Yorkshire club. There's other teams in that league who, for me right now, are looking a lot stronger than Huddersfield. And I think for the first time in years, a new club is going to join League One. I'm not convinced on Huddersfield at the moment at all. And there are some winnable games though in that run-in. I'm just not sure how many I think they're going to get. So I'm going to put Huddersfield second bottom in 23rd. They did pull it off last season. An incredible comeback under Warnock. This, I think, will be Huddersfield's first season back in League One since 2011-2012. Unlike Brighton writer, his German counterpart, Danny Roll, has impressed me a lot more at Sheffield Wednesday. Wednesday are not playing like they're in this relegation battle one bit. And the run-in that Danny Roll has got, I think he will continue to perform well and go further up the table, despite all the ownership problems and outside of the football with their owner, Chansiri. But once again, this is an example of where you can let the football do the talking when there's so much crisis going on outside. Wednesday have impressed me that much this second half of the season, especially at home, to keep the run going and do just enough at the end. Wednesday to finish in 19th place. Another one that I feel has improved massively with new management is QPR. QPR, they turned their attention to Martin Cifuentes once the season started absolutely disastrously for them and one of their all-time legends, Gareth Ainsworth, who got the sack, which QPR season started disastrously, just like Wednesday. Cifuentes came in and they have been a completely different team. Just like Danny Roll, I think Cifuentes is one of the more underrated managers this season. I think he will be single-handedly the reason why QPR stay up. QPR have actually got Wednesday during this run-in at Loftus Road, which is a crucial 6-pointer. The West London club are going to do just enough under Cifuentes, and I am backing QPR to finish the season just behind Wednesday in 20th. Roll personally has impressed me more than Cifuentes has, but that doesn't change the fact that Cifuentes 100% is the right man for the Loftus Road side right now. So that leaves me with us, Birmingham, Stoke and Blackburn. 3 of them to stay up, 1 of them to join Rotherham and Huddersfield in League One. I will start off with Birmingham, the St Andrews club, who have just taken a massive gamble to bring in Gary Rowett. Birmingham is a tricky one. They started off under John Eustace superbly, but then Tom Brady went for a big name instead, despite doing really impressive under Eustace. In comes former Derby manager Wayne Rooney. It proved to be an absolute disaster. So Birmingham turned their attention to former Sunderland manager Tony Mowbray. But then Tony Mowbray had to pull out, and I wish him the speediest of recoveries and for him to get well soon. In comes Gary Rowett. Brom have gambled massively on this. Will it be enough? If this backward step of gambles takes place for the rest of this season now for Brom, it could lead into trouble. And they most certainly are in trouble at the moment. So this is a big gamble for Gary Rowett and a big job in his hands to keep the West Midlands club safe. I reckon Rowett's gamble is going to work. I think with the running they've got, I think they are going to pull it off. And Rowett, with championship quality he has, I know, has the capabilities of doing that. Birmingham, for me, are going to scrape it and finish the season in 21st. And now we talk about Plymouth, my club. Oh dear. Where do we start with my local club? The thing is with Argyle, I can't lie, it's very turbulent at the moment. And to be bluntly honest with you, I think this international break will hopefully be a good breather for Ian Foster, the boys, and the whole fan base. We haven't made it easy for ourselves at all. We won against Cardiff, and then we got 2 fantastic away wins at both Swansea and Middlesbrough. But some of the home games have been ludicrous. Where does this put me for Plymouth? The fan base are turning on Foster, but there has been rumours about Neil Warnock coming in, whether to replace Ian Foster or to come in as the consultory advisor to Ian Foster. It wouldn't shock me because he lives in Cornwall. He lives in my motherland, where I am now, obviously. We're currently on 41 points. I feel the target is 50. Our first game back is Norwich away, which I can't lie, I'm writing off, especially with the form the Canaries are on at the moment. But it's what's after that where I feel our running can go in our favour. Foster may have lost the fan base right now, but there's no denying that we can pull off the results we can with the players and team we have. I know what this team is capable of. I know what this team can do. It will be interesting to see, and from the bottom of my heart, I am going to back us to stay up, which I know you're all going to be thinking you're sounding biased. The only way I see Plymouth getting relegated now is if we fail to win any of our last 8 games and finish the season on just 10 wins. There are harder run-ins for other clubs, and other clubs who have failed to impress me less than we have. I think we're going to pull it off, and from the bottom of my heart, I think we're going to finish in 16th place for a solid, overall turbulent but solid first season back in the Championship after 13 years. Argyle to come 16th. While I may predicted us to finish 13th at the start of the season, 15th halfway through the season, I'd love for it to happen. You never know, it still might, but we'd have to pick up results massively. And with the way the club is going at the moment, with form, I don't think we're going to do enough to catch up to 15th. But 16th again. A solid end to what has been a hard season. Come on, the green. So, Stoke and Blackburn. Stoke have hardly impressed me this season. Alex Neil got the boot. So the minute they signed Steven Schumacher from us, they have been putting in some cracking results. Then followed some rubbish results. There were even people wanting Shuey gone, but will it be enough? Blackburn, on the other hand, have showed that they can have a championship quality team. John Dal Tomlinson nearly got them the playoffs last season, but after recent dip in form, he has been given the boot. Also, they have, in my opinion, one of the best midfielders and the best players in the league in Sammy Szmodics, and that could potentially carry Blackburn to survival. Blackburn have hired John Eustace to keep them up for the rest of the season, but I haven't been impressed or seen the same Eustace at Blackburn that I saw at Birmingham. Also, look at the 2 run-ins from the 2 clubs. I think I know which run-in I prefer, and I think are going to stay up more. Blackburn's run-in, I think, is evil. So I'm going to go Blackburn to finish in 22nd. Blackburn will be back in League One for the first time since 2017-18. Stoke to stay up for another season in the Championship after looking like they looked to be relegated for the first time, and where reality hits them for a change. But I think that squad and Shuey are going to just do enough, and I think the Potters will finish in 18th. It's a really tough one to call, because any one of these 8 could join Rotherham in League One. We move on to mid-table next. From what I feel is 15th up to 10th. We're going to start with Bristol City. Bristol City, in my opinion right now, a very split club. Half of the fans want Liam Manning gone. The other half want him to stay. I've seen their run up though. They can lose shockingly and they can also win amazingly. I reckon they're going to continue their inconsistencies and keep Liam Manning for the rest of the season. They signed him literally to try and make an improvement on Nigel Pearson. It hasn't quite worked out for them, but with the other clubs I have that have impressed me a little bit more, I think they're going to just miss out on the top half and repeat where they finished last season, in 14th place, and another mediocre mid-table finish for the Robins. Swansea were in the relegation battle, but results lately have to me suggested that Luke Williams is absolutely flying. It's benefited Swansea more because Notts County's fallen like a cliff in their campaign in League Two. Also, I think they can pull off some surprises in the run-in they've got as well. I can see their rise continuing to end a turbulent season with a bang, and a position they probably didn't think twice about finishing at the start of the season. I am going to slot the Swans into 13th place. They could be ones to watch for next season. Sunderland, unlike Swansea, they've been going the complete other way, and it doesn't help when Jack Clark is injured. Tony Mowbray does okayish at the start of the season. I think Sunderland fans expected better, which is why he got the boots. In came Michael Beale. He was 100 times worse than Tony Mowbray. Now with Mike Dodds in charge, I don't think they're going to go anywhere near their target of this season. They're right now the second most out of form team in the whole league behind Rotherham. There will be some fixtures in that run-in for them where I think they can fix it. It's a hard one because they are falling like a stone at the moment, and you can tell how badly they are missing Clark at the moment. I think they'll drop off a lot, but I think they're going to punch their weight still and only just scrape that top half spot and finish in 12th. They could be lower, Sunderland. This will be seen as a really disappointing season for them either way, because they finished playoffs last season after being up from League One the year before. Sunderland's northeast rivals, Middlesbrough, they have not had any better of a season. It's the main thing about Borough, though, is that they're just plain inconsistent. 1 minute, they are shocking. The next minute, they are out of this world and one of the best teams in the league. 1 minute, they lose to Plymouth. The next minute, they beat Leicester. They beat Southampton. They're just all over the place with results. I would actually argue that they have been the league's most overrated team. It's been a total failure for Michael Carrick, and it's doubly disappointing after all the praise and amazingments he did from last season. The high of Middlesbrough's season was beating Chelsea in their first leg of the Carabao Cup. Do I think they'll do enough to be top half? Because that 15th place is still up for grabs in this. That run-in genuinely screams to me they'll win the harder games on paper and then lose or draw the easier games on paper. But it would be the most Borough thing ever to beat Leeds at home and beat Southampton away. Like Sunderland, I think they'll do enough to get into that top half. Middlesbrough in 11th. Regardless if they finish 11th though, it will be seen as a really disappointing season for them and Michael Carrick. Which leaves me with the Bluebirds and the Hornets. Speaking of which, I thought Valerian Ismail was going to go all the way. Their run-in tells me that, like Middlesbrough, I think it's going to be inconsistent all over the place. And now they've got Tom Cleverley in charge. Watford then did the most Watford thing ever, to sack Valerian Ismail. Something tells me that they're going to have a worse out of form than Sunderland are. Which is why I'm going to slot Watford into that 15th position. Which means we have one team left, Cardiff. And I think Cardiff are going to finish in 10th. They've also, for me, had a terrific season considering They nearly went down to League One last season, but survived thanks to Reading's points deductions. Despite some protests towards Vincent Tan, it's all down to that management, and I think potentially Erol Bulot is one of the managers of the season. Honestly, I don't know how it's going to be for them next season, but what a season for Cardiff. Honestly, 10th. So as I make my way back over the river to Plymouth, we're going to talk about the playoff races. 5 teams from 5th to 9th. I'll start with West Brom. On paper, along with Rotherham, are actually probably the easiest one to predict. The Baggies looked nailed on for this playoff position. Carlos Corberán, I think, has brought hope back into the club. They look nailed on to be in the playoffs. But looking at their running, I'm not so sure if I can see them coming 5th. There's a few away games in there where they may potentially slip up. I'm not worried for them at home though. I think they're magnificent at home. I think just for the away form alone, or some of the away games that they've got left, I think they could potentially slip up. But I don't see them dropping out of that top 6 one bit. They look for me nailed on. So I am going to say 6th place for West Brom. This means that I personally think one of these 4 teams will overtake the Baggies in the table to secure playoffs for themselves. Coventry, probably after Southampton, have the second most fixtures left, especially with the fact that they've got an FA Cup semi-final trip to Wembley to take on a certain Manchester United. This FA Cup run as well also could bring them more momentum, but at the same time it could also bring them more tiredness. It can really go either way really for Coventry. It's a big if, to be honest. Whatever they do against Man United, and the fact that they can take on and knock out Premier League clubs like Wolves last time, it could go another way, and it really could give them a momentum to sneak into the playoffs. I'm going to say 8th for Coventry. I don't think they're going to do enough at the end, but I think they'll give it a good go. That leaves me with 3 clubs to go. Not Plymouth, I wish. Preston this season have been a team that have in ways looked capable of being a full-on playoff side. The start of the season showed it as well when they were top of the league. And Ryan Lowe is still there, and yes, despite very inconsistent, he is able to pull off some big results in this season to really take his club to the next level. But will I think it be enough for them? I'm going to say no. I think they're more inconsistent than the other 4, and that's what I think is going to bring Preston to finish in 9th. It would be mental if they did pull off a run. I don't think it's going to be enough. Some of those games I can see them losing. Others I can see them once again pulling out brilliant results. It's not going to be enough for me for North End, which leaves me with Hull and Norwich. Who to come 5th and who to come 7th. Norwich, I think it's fair to say that they haven't had quite the season Ipswich has had. But it doesn't mean they can still pull off this season with an absolute banger of a finish. Their run has backed that point as well. They have been in incredible form. One of the most informed teams in the league currently. David Wagner, who their fans wanted him gone for parts of November and October, is now looking one of the teams to beat, and one of the teams to beat in terms of getting into those playoffs. Hull, on the other hand, I think they've recruited fantastically, and away from home, they are really, really good. Liam Rosenior, the job he's done this season has been superb, and they have been my dark horses all the way. No wonder I've left them to the end of this playoff talk as well. Norwich have the much better home form though. Hull have been draw merchants lately though. If that's the way they keep going, then I don't know if it's going to be enough. Norwich, on the other hand, are closing in on West Brom. Part of me really sees that I'm going to back their good run to continue along the way to this run-in and towards the end of the season as well. Which is why I think Norwich are going to do it. I think they're going to finish 5th, overtake West Brom at the end, and it will just be a cracking season for them regardless. It'd be heartbreak for Hull. It would be heartbreak for Hull because I have backed them all the way. They've recruited amazingly. Getting in Fabio Carvalho this January I thought was a wonderful signing. Norwich to overtake West Brom, come 5th and secure that last playoff spot. Hull, I think, are going to guttingly miss out. Heartbreak for them, and they only just miss out by a few points and finish in 7th. Which just leaves me, as I've crossed the River Tamar back into Plymouth for the last part of my video, to go to Home Park to talk about the Autos race. The top 4, and obviously we all know who the top 4 is, so what order are they going to finish in? Who do I think will 100% not be at this ground next season? And the other 2 likely to be at this ground next season, providing we stay up, of course. Southampton, Ipswich, Leicester, Leeds. I'm going to start with the 2 clubs out of the 4 that, in my opinion, that I think are most likely going to win the league. I'm not saying the 2 clubs most likely to get promoted, but the 2 clubs most likely to win the league. And I'm saying this because I'm going to make a prediction now for this run-in. The 2 I'm choosing here are Leicester and Leeds. The 2 favourites pretty much of this season, for most of this season. But here is where I make a twist. I'm backing one of these teams to win the league, the other one of the 2 to finish in 3rd place. Leicester, Enzo Maresca being the manager they desperately needed right now. And throughout most of this season, it looked all but good for them. And the favourites coming into the season looked like they were walloping this league away. By the time the turn of the year came, it looked like Leicester had wiped the entire floor out of the rest of the league. But they are on awful form at the moment. Leicester's form is suggesting they're not going to finish in the top 2. But I know what their team is capable of. I know what that squad is capable of. It looks like they have the whole package. Leeds, meanwhile, are one of the most informed clubs in the league right now. Now, they are currently top of the league, and to be honest with you right now, I think they look the team to beat. And they did the double over Leicester. Will Leeds' momentum keep going? It makes it harder for Leeds also that they have Southampton on the final day at Ellen Road. But home is where Leeds is strongest. Away is where Leicester is strongest. But like I've backed for this run-in, and with the fixtures they got, with some surprises that I can see happening too, one of these teams for me is going to win the league. The other team, I think, is going to miss out on automatic promotion. The momentum for me is with Leeds. And I think the momentum will stick with Leeds and their incredible home form and incredible run for the rest of the season. I can see them lose one more game. Leicester also have been hit with FFP breaches, a possible points deduction of 10 points most likely next season, whether they stay in the Championship or go up to the Premier League. And I think it's going to affect their form as well. But I could be wrong, because I have backed them all the way, but I did not expect them to slip up this bad lately. And that 100 points record tally, or over 100 points, is looking to slip away. If they don't finish in the top two, especially if they don't win the playoffs, it will be probably one of the biggest bottlings in Championship history. And I am going to make the twist and back that to happen. And I am going to back Leeds to come first and win the league, and another experience trophy for Daniel Farker in this tier. Leicester, with the FFP stuff going on and their form hitting a turn, despite some comfortable wins I'll see them getting between now and the end of the season, I think are going to miss out and finish in third place. What would be a very, very, very disappointing end to what looks like was going to be a perfect season for the Foxes and an immediate return to the Premier League. So that leaves me with two: Southampton and Ipswich. One of these teams will finish fourth and miss out on automatic promotion. The other club, for me, will come second and finish the runner-up to Leeds. I'm going to start off with Southampton. Russell Martin is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the strongest managers of the season. They went on that mad unbeaten run once they beat Leeds at St Mary's, and that unbeaten run was absolutely superb. It got ended by Bristol City. There have been games where they have been starting to slip up lately as well, a bit like Leicester. Also, their running, in my opinion, is the hardest out of the top four, as Saints have still got to play Ipswich, Leicester and Leeds all away. And that is crucial, the Leicester game, because both Leicester and Southampton both have games in hand, whereas Ipswich and Leeds don't. Southampton have more games to play than anyone, and if they do get a perfect run in and deliver, especially in all three of those away games at Portman Road, Ellen Road and the King Power, then I think Saints will get the top two that they absolutely deserve. Ipswich, meanwhile, what a season, and potentially at the moment, my manager of the season at the moment, Kieran McKenna. They came second to us last season in League One, and they've started the season well and truly, like Leicester, well and truly they started this season amazingly. Leicester and Ipswich, just before the turn of the year, looked on course to pull away from the rest of the pack and looked certain top two contenders. But then Southampton hit that unbeaten run and hit form to close the gap. Leeds are now hitting amazing form right now to completely close the gap and take over at the lead at the summit of the Championship. What Ipswich have done to keep up with these three and just being promoted from League One is just none other than astonishing. They have lost the least amount of games as well. Their running is nowhere near as bad as Southampton's. However, they have still got Southampton at home to play, and they've also still got their bitter rivals to play at Carrow Road, as they look on course to get back-to-back promotions and reach the Premier League for the first time since 2002. I am going to say Southampton to stay where they are and finish in fourth. I think they'll give it a go and try and do everything they can to close the gap on the top three. But having the top three away for the rest of the season is going to be a hard, tall order for Saints. And I'm going to be honest, I've got Southampton to win one of those away games and lose the other two. Which means I think Ipswich are going to come second behind Leeds. And if they do, what a season it has been for the Tractor Boys. Kieran McKenna, without a doubt, one of the candidates for manager of the season. They've been incredible, and I'm gonna back them all the way to do it behind Leeds. I really am. They've got Huddersfield at home on the last day as well, which I think is, in my honest opinion, is brilliant for Ipswich. That is the positive, though, for Ipswich and Leicester. They both have, on paper, games they know they need to win, whereas Leeds and Southampton have each other at Ellen Road on the last day. So I'm backing Ipswich to do it, and I think that the amount of draws they get, I think it will help them as well. I just feel like right now, I think there's a bright future for me at the moment with Ipswich. It reminds me of when Southampton got that double promotion from 2010-11 and 2011-12 to reach the Premier League for 2012-13. And I've seen other clubs similar that have risen like this. Bournemouth, another prime example. Wolves, when they got promoted to 2018-19. If Ipswich come second at least, I genuinely see a bright future in them in the Premier League. And they could be the new, what was Southampton, what was Wolves, if they go up. I wouldn't count out Ipswich yet for winning the league either. They really could win the league. They really could win the league. And we've only been on 5 defeats all season, and we're coming up to the end of March. That is impressive. It's going to be twists and turns for this top 4, but that is what I'm going to say. Southampton 4th, Leicester 3rd, Ipswich 2nd, Leeds champions, and finishing in 1st. Which means I am backing Leeds and Ipswich to be in that Premier League next season. Which means Leicester and Southampton will have to settle for playoffs, and that will put Leicester against West Brom in a Midlands clash, and it will put Southampton taking on Norwich. I am going to say the 2 surprises of the playoffs, which would result in Leicester and Southampton playing Championship football again next season. You can all call me mad. You can all call me mad in the comment section, but I'm going to back it. I am going to back it. I am only going to back one of these relegated Premier League clubs to go up. So that leaves me with a Norwich-West Brom playoff final at Wembley. And even though, yes, Norwich's record in the playoffs, 2015 being a prime example, would lean me to Norwich. But I just don't know. I see a bright future. Like Ipswich, I see a bright future in West Brom at the moment. With the new takeover that's going on, the football and style of football Carlos Corberán is showing at the moment. I'm going to back them, and I'm going to back them to win 1-0 at extra time at Wembley. So there you have it, guys. That is it. Here's again a reminder of what I've gone with. Remember, so I've got Leeds, Ipswich and West Brom promoted to the Premier League. And I've got Blackburn, Huddersfield and Rotherham relegated to League One. Everyone else playing Championship football again next season. That is my final predictions for the Championship this season. Leave a like and subscribe to Cornish Janner if you haven't already. And please put in the comment section your final table between now and May, because this is the business end of the season and the running will decide everything. Please put a comment in, guys, and leave a like. Please type in your predictions below on who you think's going to go up, who you think's going to go down, and your final table and your playoff winner. So yeah, we play Norwich next Friday at Carrow Road. A big game. We'll see you then. Up the Janners, up the Argyle, up the Greens, up the Pilgrims, up the Plymouth. Come on, you boys in green. Green Army. And there we are. That is that, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We started the video on a walk along the Cornish coast path at Kingston and Corsons to finish here at Home Park. I really enjoyed my day. So there we are. We'll see you all for the next video. Good night.
When they pull on the green, they're all Janners.